Amara's childhood had once been filled with warmth and light. Her mother, a gentle woman with kind eyes, often whispered to her at night, "Amara, your soul is like a star. No matter how dark the night, your light will never fade." But Amara's world shattered the day her mother passed away after a sudden illness. She was only 10 years old, too young to understand why God had taken away the only person who truly loved her. Her father, Mr. Okoro, a respected businessman in the community, could not bear the loneliness. Within months, he remarried a woman named Vivian. At first, Amara believed she had gained another mother, someone who would hold her when she cried and guide her as she grew. But she was wrong. Vivian's smiles were sharp-edged, her affection nothing but a mask. It didn't take long for Amara to see the truth. Behind closed doors, Vivian's words cut deeper than any knife. "You're nothing but dead weight." Vivian sneered one night, "Your mother left this world because of you. If not for your existence, Mr. Okoro would have lived freely." Amara swallowed her tears. She wanted to scream, but her mother's last words echoed inside her heart. "A star still shines even in darkness," so she endured. Life in the house changed completely. Vivian brought her own daughter, Lydia, a spoiled girl who had inherited her mother's arrogance. Lydia always demanded the best clothes, the biggest share of food, and all the affection Mr. Okoro had to give. Amara, meanwhile, was pushed further into the shadows. Where once she had been the apple of her father's eye, she now became invisible. Vivian made sure of that. She whispered lies into her husband's ears, twisted every innocent mistake Amara made, until even Mr. Okoro grew cold and distant. At night, Amara often sat by the small window of her room, gazing at the stars. She would whisper softly, "Mama, if you can hear me, please don't let me break." And though the world seemed cruel, a small flicker of hope still burned in her chest. She didn't know that destiny had already written something extraordinary for her life. Amara grew older, but life inside the Okoro household only grew harsher. Vivian had perfected the art of cruelty. Every command she gave was laced with venom, every glance filled with disdain. "Amara," she barked one morning, slamming a dirty plate onto the wooden table. "Wash these again. Do you think guests will eat from dishes stained like this? Useless child." Amara lowered her eyes, whispering, "Yes, Ma." She dared not argue. Arguing only earned her slaps or worse days without food. Lydia, meanwhile, lived like a queen inside the same house. She strolled about in fine clothes and boasted of her beauty. When visitors came, Vivian paraded her daughter proudly, while Amara was ordered to hide in the kitchen like a servant. Mr. Okoro noticed little of this. He was busy with business, often traveling for days. And when he was home, Vivian's sweet mask deceived him. She spoke honeyed words, painting Lydia as the perfect daughter and Amara as a troublesome burden. Slowly, his heart hardened against his own flesh and blood. "Amara," he once said coldly, "why can't you be more like Lydia? She brings honor to this family, while you only bring shame." Those words pierced her deeper than any beating. She wanted to cry out, "Father, don't you see? Don't you remember who I am?" But the courage never came. Instead, she carried her pain silently, burying it deep inside. One evening, after finishing her endless chores, Amara escaped to the courtyard. She sat beneath the old almond tree, its branches heavy with green leaves. The moon bathed her in silver light as she whispered, "Mama, I don't belong here. I am like a stranger in my own home." But even in her despair, a small ember of resilience glowed within her. Amara had learned to survive storms, to hide her tears, to carry burdens no child should bear. Somewhere deep inside, she felt, though faintly, that life could not always remain this cruel. What she didn't know was that her true story was only beginning, and fate was quietly weaving a path that would one day change everything. Years passed, and Amara blossomed into a young woman. Though hardship had carved lines of quiet sorrow into her face, it had also given her a rare strength. Her eyes, though often downcast, held a depth that spoke of battles fought in silence. Vivian, however, saw her growth as a threat. "She is becoming too beautiful," she muttered one night to Lydia. "People might begin to notice her instead of you. That cannot happen. This is your home, not hers." From that day forward, Vivian's cruelty sharpened. Amara's meals became smaller, her chores doubled. She was forbidden from wearing fine clothes, forced instead into faded garments that barely fit. Whenever a suitor visited the house for Lydia, Vivian locked Amara away, terrified someone might see the quiet grace she carried. but Amara had one place of freedom, the village river. At dawn, before the others woke, she would slip away to the water's edge. There, surrounded by the sound of flowing streams and singing birds, she felt alive. She whispered her dreams to the river, as though it could carry her prayers to God. "I will not remain broken forever," she told herself one morning, her reflection rippling in the clear water. "One day, they will see me. One day, they will know my worth." Unknown to her, someone had already seen Chike, the young blacksmith's son, often came to the river to fetch water. Strong and kind, with eyes that held warmth, he had watched Amara from afar. Unlike others, he did not see a servant girl or a forgotten daughter. He saw courage in her silence, beauty in her endurance. One morning, as Amara washed clothes by the bank, Chike approached with a shy smile. "You work harder than anyone I know," he said gently. "But even the strongest need rest. May I help you?" Amara's heart raced. She had long forgotten what kindness sounded like. She wanted to trust, yet fear gripped her. Vivian's voice echoed in her head. "No one will ever love you. You are nothing." But when she met Chike's eyes, she felt something stir inside her, hidden flame of hope. From that day, small conversations bloomed between them at the river. He spoke of dreams, of freedom, of a future where pain could give way to joy. And though Amara never admitted it aloud, she began to wonder if perhaps fate had placed him in her path for a reason. Yet in the Okoro household, storms were brewing. Vivian and Lydia were preparing something that would shake Amara's fragile world once again. The Okoro household was buzzing with excitement. A wealthy merchant from the neighboring town had announced his intention to seek a wife. His caravans brought gold, silk, and treasures from distant lands. For Vivian, it was the chance of a lifetime. Her daughter, Lydia, married into wealth, would elevate their name forever. She wasted no time preparing Lydia. New gowns were sewn, jewelers were summoned, the house was scrubbed until it gleamed. Vivian whispered to Lydia each night, "Smile sweetly, speak softly, and you will be his bride. Then our lives will change forever." But amid this flurry, Amara became invisible. She was ordered to polish the floors until her knees bled, to cook meals without tasting them, to carry buckets of water long after sunset. Whenever she slowed, Vivian's sharp tongue lashed her. "You are not meant to be seen, only to serve. Remember that." Amara obeyed in silence. Yet deep inside, the small flame Chike had lit at the river refused to die. The day of the merchant's visit arrived. The courtyard filled with music and laughter. Lydia dazzled in silk, her hair adorned with golden pins. Guests admired her beauty, and Vivian basked in their praises. Amara, hidden in the shadows, served food and poured wine. She moved like a ghost, unnoticed, until fate betrayed Vivian's careful plan. When Amara bent to refill a guest's cup, the merchant's eyes fell upon her. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. Unlike Lydia's polished beauty, Amara carried a natural grace, quiet yet radiant. Her hands were calloused, her dress plain, but there was a dignity in her posture that could not be ignored. "Who is that?" the merchant asked softly. Vivian's heart nearly stopped. Panic flashed across her face. "No one," she said quickly, forcing a laugh. "Just a servant girl we keep. Pay her no mind." But the merchant's gaze lingered, and Lydia, noticing, felt a dagger of jealousy pierce her chest. That night, after the guests had gone, Vivian and Lydia cornered Amara. Rage twisted their faces. "You dare steal attention meant for me," Lydia spat. "You will ruin everything," Vivian added, her voice trembling with fury. Amara fell to her knees, tears spilling. "I did nothing. I only served as you commanded." But their hearts were stoned. That very night, Vivian devised a plan, a cruel punishment, to ensure Amara would never again be seen as more than a shadow. The storm was about to break. The night was heavy with silence. The moon hung low, its pale glow casting long shadows across the Okoro courtyard. Inside, Vivian's mind twisted with schemes. Her pride would not allow Amara's light to dim Lydia's shine. She gathered Lydia close and whispered, "If that merchant dares to see beauty in her, then we must make sure he sees her as nothing but filth." Lydia's eyes narrowed with cold determination. "Then let us destroy her." At dawn, Amara was dragged from her mat by Lydia's friends. They jeered as they pulled her through the village, shoving her into the dirt. "See the servant girl, who thinks she can rival Lydia," one mocked. Buckets of spoiled water were poured over her head. Children laughed and pointed. Even those who pitied her were too afraid of Vivian's wrath to intervene. Amara's heart cracked, but she did not scream. She stood, trembling yet silent, her tears mingling with the mud on her face. That evening, Vivian locked her in the storeroom with no food. "You will remain here until you learn your place," she hissed. The door slammed, leaving Amara in darkness. Hours passed. Hunger gnawed at her belly, loneliness weighed on her chest. Yet in the stillness, a voice stirred inside her memory, was Cheek's voice from the river. "Even shadows hold light. If you refuse to bow to the darkness," Amara closed her eyes and whispered into the void, "God, if you see me, if you love me, give me strength. Do not let me break." At that moment, lightning split the sky outside. The storm raged, rattling the walls. Amara felt her spirit surge. For the first time, she realized that though her stepmother could cage her body, her soul was beyond chains. But Vivian had underestimated the power of fate. 4 storms do not pass quietly on soon. The winds of change would shake the Okoro household forever. The storm that rattled the night did not end with thunder. It carried whispers across the village, whispers that would soon return to the Okoro household. By morning, the sky cleared, but the air felt different. Villagers who had witnessed Amara's humiliation the day before spoke in hushed voices at the marketplace. Some shook their heads in pity, others in anger. "Did you see the girl's courage? She did not fight back. She is stronger than they think. But Vivian is powerful. Who will dare speak for her?" Unseen by many, Chike listened. His hands tightened around the basket of yams he carried. He had admired Amara's quiet spirit since that first meeting by the river. Now, seeing her crushed by cruelty, something inside him burned. He made a vow: "I will not stay silent." Back in the Okoro compound, Lydia laughed as she braided her hair before the mirror. "By the next festival, Amara will be nothing but a shadow," she boasted. Vivian smiled coldly, pouring herself palm wine. "Good, she must never rise." But fate is rarely controlled by human hands. That very week, the great Chief Nana, a respected elder of the region, announced he would visit the Okoro household. He had heard tales of their wealth and beauty and also of a girl with a humble glow hidden in the shadows. The news struck fear into Vivian's heart. How could anyone have spoken of her? She muttered. Lydia's smile faltered. They both knew the truth, no matter how much they tried to bury Amara. Her quiet dignity had begun to shine in places they could not reach. When the chief arrived, drums welcomed him. Vivian paraded Lydia forward, draped in her finest cloth, golden beads shining against her skin. Lydia curtsied gracefully, expecting all eyes to remain on her. But in the corner of the courtyard, Amara stood silently, her clothes plain, her face tired from sleepless nights, yet her eyes clear. Calm and steady caught the chief's attention. He paused, tilting his head as though struck by something unseen. "Who is she?" Chief Nana asked. His voice was deep, commanding. Vivian froze. Lydia's chest tightened. "She is no one," Vivian said quickly. "A mere servant girl." The chief's gaze lingered on Amara, unshaken. "A servant? No." There is a strength in her face. "Bring her forward." The courtyard fell silent. The drums stilled. Lydia's fingers clenched into fists. Amara stepped forward slowly, her heart pounding. For the first time in her life, the chains of shame began to loosen. Vivian forced a smile, but sweat trickled down her neck. The storm she had tried to contain was breaking free, and the first winds of justice had arrived at her very doorstep. The night had been long, filled with whispers, prayers, and hidden tears. Yet when the dawn came, it carried more than light. It carried revelation. The great courtyard of the Okoro household was crowded that morning. Word had spread quickly that Chief Nena had summoned the entire family. Villagers gathered by the gates, eager to witness what would unfold. Vivian stood tall, dressed in her finest wrapper, her gold bangles clinking with every move. Lydia stayed close by her side, her face set in defiance, though her heart trembled with unease. Amara stood at a distance, her hands clasped tightly together, her plain clothes setting her apart. Chief Nena rose to speak, his voice carrying authority that silenced even the birds in the trees. "I came here to see beauty and wealth, but what I found was truth hidden in humility." His eyes rested on Amara. "This girl, whom you call a servant, carries a dignity and grace that no riches can buy." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Amara lowered her eyes, overwhelmed. Vivian forced a laugh. "Chief, with all respect, you must be mistaken. This girl has no value. She is nothing compared to my daughter Lydia." the jewel of our household. The chief's gaze sharpened. A jewel, perhaps, but what is the worth of a jewel without virtue? Murmurs rose among the villagers. Some nodded in agreement. Others whispered boldly, "We have seen how they treat Amara. Yes, she works while they mock her. God does not sleep." Trike stepped forward, unable to contain himself any longer. "Chief Nana speaks truth. Amara is no servant in spirit. She is kind, she is patient, and she carries a strength that puts even kings to shame." His voice broke with emotion. "I will not let her light be hidden any longer." The courtyard erupted in shock. Vivian's face flushed crimson. Lydia's breath caught, her eyes burning with jealousy. "You dare!" Vivian shouted. "You dare defy me in my own home." But before her fury could continue, Chief Nana raised a hand. The crowd stilled. "I have seen enough. The cruelty with which you, Vivian, have treated this girl will not be hidden. From this day forth, Amara shall no longer live as your shadow. She will stand in the light she deserves." Amara's knees weakened. Tears filled her eyes. But for once, they were not tears of sorrow. She fell to her knees, lifting her face toward the heavens. "Thank you, Lord. You have not forgotten me." The villagers cheered. Some clapped, others lifted their voices in songs of praise. Trike stepped closer, offering Amara his hand. She hesitated, then placed her trembling fingers in his, and he helped her rise. Vivian, enraged, shouted curses, but her voice was drowned by the songs of the people. Lydia turned away, her pride shattered, her beauty suddenly powerless. As the sun climbed higher, its golden light fell upon Amara, making her glow like a figure carved in hope. For the first time, she stood tall, no longer hidden, no longer broken. The chief declared, "Let this day be remembered. Justice has spoken, and truth has risen." And so, the girl once mocked as nothing became the symbol of strength, humility, and divine justice. Her story would echo through the village for generations. That no matter how deep the shadows of cruelty, the dawn of truth will always rise.